Well, I want to discuss a little bit about gold versus real estate. Now, real estate is like a catch-all phrase. It's almost like saying the metals, and it also depends on which country you're in. To give you an example, well, for instance, if the country's wealthy, of course, the real estate is higher priced. If the area of the country is more wealthy, the real estate is higher priced. Simple, right? But a lot of people aren't even thinking of that. Like, for instance, you could have bought, like, say, for instance, there was some land 30 years ago in Vietnam that was beachfront property. It had a beautiful, pristine beach with a lush forest around it, and it was just gorgeous. But it was in a poorer country. Well, it's not going to be worth that much. Now, if that was like right near southern Florida or something, well, that would be worth a hell of a lot of money. I mean, people would be buying matchbox size lots for $50,000 or $100,000 or something, just a lot, right? Whereas if it's someplace else. Now, with gold versus real estate, I'm going to tell you this: I don't think real estate is a bad investment under the current climate of what's going on in the economy. First off, it also depends on what type of real estate, where it is, location, right? As they always say, right? But the former head or former director of the New York Federal Reserve in branch, I think it was in Texas, he was in like platinum, gold, and and land that was farmland. Now, farmland probably is something. See, that's another thing too, because if it's actually designated as farmland originally and you bought it as farmland, you get more specific tax breaks on it, for one. That's another thing, especially if you lease it out to somebody to work the land or parts of the land and things like that. There's more specific tax breaks, and it's even if it's just part of it's just sitting there not doing anything. It's zoned, so it's cheaper. Like in other words, the taxes. If something's zoned for commercial land, the taxes on it are much higher than farmland. So the upkeep is you always got an associated cost with land. Now, also with real estate land, you also got the rental things, But everything actually is a lot of work. The one thing about metals is, yeah, you're not getting any kind of return on investments sitting there, but there's not much work involved with it. That's the other thing. But, and I'm not going to state that we're going to go into this kind of situation, but, in Weimar Republic, Germany, at the height of the gold bubble, let's call it a bubble because eventually it came back down again. You could buy an entire block, a city block in some cities, for the price of 1 ounce of gold. Now, it's not going to get that skewed, but right now gold is probably a better bet than real estate. Depends, because if you understand the real estate market and you say you've been in it for like 30 years and you understand, how much revenue you're going to get out of it and what kind of connections and deals you have going where, yeah, I got so many renters or I got so many people that are going to lease on my property for this, or I have so many people that are going to work the land for agricultural purposes and pay me money. Well, in that case, it's fine because it's actually a case-by-case basis. Now, the real estate market is not going to collapse or nothing like that because it already did collapse. It collapsed in 2007, 2008, 2009. It's been creeping back up again. It's not going to collapse. Now, there might be some hot areas of the market that might drop down quite a bit, but they're not going to go to zero, or because real estate is a solid, hard asset. You're not going to really go wrong with it as long as you got the means to hold it for a longer period of time. You're never going to lose out on real estate, as they say. Now, what could probably happen, though, with real estate, though, is that as the nation... See, I'm not buying into neither extreme. First off, there's people that are saying that the United States is going to go along and actually get more and more prosperous. I think the New World Order plan agenda is to kind of, bring everything down to a level playing field. They did deindustrialize the United States deliberately. It was a nefarious plan. It was deliberate and dangerous to the survival of the United States because they want to meld everything into one global New World Order global government. So the power and prestige of the U.S. is going to diminish, but it's not going to lose. It's not going to be like the United States is not going to be not important in the future. It's not going to go to some nothing, like obliteration, like these yo-yos are saying in La La Land on conspiracy channels. It's the United States is going to lose power and clout piecemeal, but it's not going to lose all its power and clout. And that's going to go along with the price of real estate. But the relative price of real estate within the nation, as compared to like if you're living in here in the United States, it's not going to be greatly diminished, but probably more attractive to foreign buyers. And you're seeing this in California with Chinese buyers. Like some of the biggest home manufacturers and stuff are going along strong because of Chinese buyers. So, also in the case of real estate, actually, when we crashed in, it started actually in 2007, it crashed in 2008. People were buying it up in 2008 thinking it was the end of it, crashed more in 2009. Actually, there was other parts of the globe. Actually, you got to look globally, because when you say this word real estate, there's places in Central and South America that were going hot and heavy. They were like going like a rocket upward. And actually, it depends on your niche. You could still make a lot of money in real estate. Depends on your niche. Like there was somebody who was offering a product in Central America with these poured concrete rebar homes that were like simple. They only had like 2 or 3 floor plans. They weren't that big, but they were much better than the average accommodations in that country. I don't want to say where it was, but he was making a very good profit on that because of it was offered at a price that was still pretty attractive. It was plenty strong enough domicile against any kind of hurricane or bad weather. It could have withstood 200-mile-an-hour winds. It was solid poured concrete with rebar and stuff, but it was a simple plan. It was a simple thing. It wasn't like building in the United States. There wasn't as many building codes, but they used a higher quality concrete and construction methods. Sometimes I don't want to digress too much, but sometimes when you pour solid concrete, all concrete is not the same. You got to actually, so in other words, it was an American company that knew some things that went down there and made a lot of money off of that, selling to Central Americans after the USA market had crashed. They were still making a lot of money on just cookie cutter houses that were very solid, strong, practical for the Central American middle class people. It was a much better house than anything around there, but it was just simple. It was just no Art Deco freaking archways and things like that, and special roofing, and it just didn't have much in it, but it was profitable because the American technology that could knew how to make these things. So there's always a market for real estate someplace. So it's a big catch-all word, but as the power of a nation diminishes, the real estate market goes stagnant. But that doesn't mean it goes to zero or anything bad. I think gold is actually going to far outpace the price of real estate. And actually, since real estate is never really a lose position, unless you buy it in a bubble. Pretty much, and if you wait long enough, even then, it's not a lose position. That would be like if gold it gets way ahead of real estate, which I do think it is. That would be the asset you would really want to look at, and you have to be careful as to what you're doing because you don't want something that maybe if it's just for investment purposes, you don't want anything with a high tax rate or a high expected tax rate, or for it to be zoned in something that's not, say for instance, if you bought real estate for investment purposes and it was zoned commercial, but the commercial industry in that area has actually collapsed, well, you don't want to buy that. You'd actually want to buy something that was zoned agricultural or something like that, and maybe it could be rezoned later for commercial and the price can go way to hell up. Something like that. Now, also in investing in real estate, a lot of times it's important to look at other countries for investing in real estate, but that's very difficult to do, and sometimes it could be dangerous because of political upheaval and political instability. You know, there's been many times where in the past where Americans really lost their ass by investing overseas because somebody decided that, you know, all these investments that Americans did are now worth nothing. You know, actually, you think about about the infrastructure and investment know-how. I mean, in technological know-how and all the investment money that was poured into Iran. You know, and then the Shah came along and he was persecuting the clerics especially, and the clerics won out, and all the U.S. investment lost out right there. It's gone. Goodbye. Right? So what happens? I mean, something like that could happen if you were investing in a foreign country. But on the flip side, if you actually are investing in a country whose economy is expected to dramatically improve, and you're investing in real estate over there, well, in that case, you could be doing quite well. Now, I would actually recommend that you try to look at an index fund that is managed by responsible people with real estate, having exposure to real estate in some foreign countries versus trying to handpick investments. You don't want to be doing that. But sometimes having some exposure to real estate in foreign countries is a very good thing, because some of these foreign countries are going to come on very strong, and what that's going to affect, industrial-wise, and also for the power of their currency, that's going to greatly affect their real estate market. They can have a hot market while the U.S. has a stagnant market. I think the U.S. market in real estate is not going to be that good. I know there's some exceptions to that rule, because around New York City, the last couple of years, things have been going very, very well. Actually, in California, things have been doing pretty good, turning around, mainly because of the Chinese buying up from, the major home builders. They got it. If the Chinese weren't buying in California, the major home builders in California would have a major problem. But as far as the real estate market collapsing, no, it's not going to collapse. It's already has collapsed before. It might go down. I think it's not going to do that good. But it's all area specific. It's very area specific. In other words, you can make it work if you have the right type of real estate in the right type of area. But in general, I don't think it's going to do that good, especially compared to gold. And just for the people that are like gold and silver holders, and they're wondering, like, what do I do? Take fiat when I sell it? Oh, I can't take fiat. I can't ever take fiat. Well, you have to take fiat at the time of sale. And I've been saying this, and I've been beating this to death every time. If you look at any company out there, if they have an asset on their books for 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, or 3 years, or whatever, and they sell it for a huge capital gain, they take fiat. That's what happens, and you get taxed on it, capital gains tax, whatever the hell it is. And the thing is, I never seen a balance sheet on a company where they had all cash, a whole bunch of cash, or mainly cash. There's all these asset ratios and stuff like that. What they'll do is reinvest the money into something else. So you almost want to think of yourself as a business. Considering yourself as, you have the funds beyond your, day-to-day activities that you need. But you want to think of yourself as a business. You want to reinvest that money. So actually, I think when gold is in a bubble, it will be in a bubble. And I know what's going to happen with all the freaking gold BS artists out there. They'll tell you, the dollar's going to nothing, so that means you should never sell. Well, you should sell when it's in a bubble, especially if real estate is not doing well. And that would be a good asset to move into. But you have to be careful as to what you specifically pick. Like I said, you could, even in the best depressed times for real estate, you could be getting something with high maintenance costs because it's zoned commercial and the economy stinks, and you're paying high taxes on something because the city or the town or whatever it is, they want to keep those zonings like that, and they want to keep the market, the appraisal values up because they want a lot of tax revenue for the property. There's a lot of that garbage going on because the cities are broke, right? So you got to look at that. Actually, the best thing to do would be to invest probably in real estate that's farmland, even when gold is at the height. Especially, well, it's like you got to research. It's not that damn easy, okay? It's not like you're just going to listen to me and I'm saying, here's the answer. Because actually, I'd be jumping on this and I wouldn't be telling people if I knew exact specifics on land that's going to be, oh, that's going to be changed to commercial. You think I'd be blabbering it all over the internet and say, buy that piece of land? No. And nobody else does that either. So, I mean, unless they're looking for a fee for brokerage or something like that, that's the only reason they're doing that. But as far as like the general principle, I think gold is actually going to far outpace real estate. But you're not going to lose your ass on real estate. I just think it's not going to do much. It's going to be stagnant. There's going to be some areas it's probably going to go lower. Probably most areas are going to go a little lower. Until inflation really rears its head. And when inflation really rears its head, real estate should keep up with inflation. But the one thing that's going to outpace inflation is going to be the silver and gold. And that's when you know it's going to start getting in the bubble, when it starts outpacing inflation. Now, the good way to actually tell when things are outpacing inflation sometimes is that gold-silver ratio. If it takes 20 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold, that's telling you, I don't know where that ratio is going to go to. Some people are saying it's going to go to 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 2 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 1. Yeah, right. But 20 to 1 is not unreasonable, for 20 ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold when it's getting near the bubble or at the bubble height. When it's something like that, that's when you need to be looking at another hard asset. I already know what people are going to be doing there. What do you do? Take fiat? Well, you have to take fiat at the time of sale. Okay? They're going to be pumping up the information that if you take any dollars at the point of sale, the dollar's going to oblivion. I bet you don't. Because basically the dollar is backed up by the oil industry in the United States, which is no longer, we've been dependent upon OPEC with them exchanging their oil for dollars, and it's being forced that way in exchange for U.S. protection. No longer is it like that. Actually, it's moving very rapidly towards the U.S. dollar is going to be backed by U.S. energy production, and the markets are going to start opening up to the globe for U.S. energy production. That's why the dollar's not going to really... It's going to be diminished, but it's not going to go away. All right? It shouldn't. Now, the only way it can go away is if Vladimir Putin decides he's used his Russian nuclear arsenal and he hits the United States by surprise and collapses. Because actually, if you look at the map of the United States, I just want to ad lib on this, the vast majority of the GDP, where gross domestic product is located in not that many industrial centers in the United States. Especially, the biggest one would be around New York, New Jersey area. That's got a huge slice of the GDP. So if you take, that area, Dallas-Fort Worth, the Los Angeles area, the Chicago area, the Miami area, the Boston area, the Baltimore, D.C. area, I'm leaving some out, but if Vladimir Putin decided, to do something someday, because he doesn't like how he's getting squeezed by the Western guys or something, well, that could crash the hell out of the dollar right there, no problem. That would do it. And actually, I should say now that it looks like the West wants this guy out of the picture. Not that he's the good guy going against the bad guys. They're both the bad guys. You got the Western elite and you got the Russian elitist. Vladimir Putin is his own... he's doing his own thing. He's not going along with the New World Order like people observe. But that doesn't mean he's doing something good for everybody. That's image, man. That's image. He's about number one. The one thing I just want to ad lib here, because the one thing I actually respect about Vladimir Putin is how he got his divorce. He didn't play a Rupert Murdoch divorce and pay $1.5 billion to the lady and give her $100 million cash right off the freaking bat. It was more like she came back out of being disappeared for 6 or 8 months, and she came back and she goes, oh yeah, we'll just have an amiable divorce and he can marry this young hottie, and I'm all fine with that. So I don't know what he did with her But guy's not stupid, man. I know that, man. He's got about 25 million up on Rupert Murdoch in that department, that's for sure, man. Including most of the Western people with money, including George Soros and his girlfriend problems and everything like that. So, I mean, but I don't know. I mean, that's the scenario if, say, even if it wasn't Vladimir Putin, it was Vladimir Zhirinovsky decided to push the button. Yeah, that could collapse the dollar, but if that situation doesn't occur, the dollar's not going to collapse. It's going to be diminished. It's going to lose its clout in the world as the way it was, but it's not going to lose all its clout and importance in the world either. That's the current situation. All right, so take the dollars for your gold if it gets in a hyperbolic bubble, if it's 20 to 1, or I don't know, if it might go better than that, with the silver gold ratio. I think real estate will be, it could be moving up, but I don't think it's going to, I think when we hit the inflation really rears its ugly head, real estate's not going to be keeping up with the gold. But if you have real estate, you're not going to lose out. I mean, I think it's not going to, it depends on the area. I hate to say that, but that's a fact. There's going to be some areas that are going to be hot and some areas aren't. That's just how it is. So, but in general, I don't think it's going to do that good until inflation rears its ugly head. Then it's going to kind of like start moving up, but gold and silver is going to really move up, and real estate's not going to crash to oblivion. I know that. Like the only scenario, like I said, it could happen like that is if there's a nuclear war. Man. Well, if that happens, you're not going to be listening to me on YouTube anyway, so don't worry about that too much. All right? Anyway, over and out. Hopefully I cleared up some things on here because it's not such a simple question. When people are asking these topics, it's not that simple. And I've been involved in the construction and real estate industry for a number of years. There's people that can make money off of real estate when everybody else is losing. Depends on how well you research, how well you market, and where you're looking for buyers and all that kind of stuff, and how you're presenting your property, or if you come up with new uses for the property. And there's a lot of different areas. It's a lot of hard work. The workaholics will make money on real estate when the other ones that are just sitting on their ass don't. That's really what it comes down to. Anyway, hopefully I cleared this up, but I think gold is the place to be, and real estate is a good general investment for when you want to dump some gold. Not to go all into real estate, but that should be some of it. Okay, over and out.